The show to transform your life from the inside out, because who doesn't want to live a fulfilling and happy life? Welcome to the Kirsty Show. I'm here for the next 7 days and I'm going to be talking to you about dealing with the most current thing that's in our faces. It's huge, it's massive, it is stress, it's anxiety, it's fear, and it's perpetuating across the world at a fair old speed. And I just felt that this is the time for me to be able to come in and do something and share some of the things that I've learned over the last 15 years. So give me a massive thumbs up or a hello if you're there. Don't be shy. This is not, don't worry, I'm not going to get you to come on screen while I'm speaking, so I'll just be talking and you can be listening. So it's not going to be anything embarrassing, but the more interactive you are, the better it is. So any thumbs up and any likes is always really exciting for the person that's here speaking to a screen on her own, feeling like a little bit of a lunatic. So love it when you interact more. So guys, basically this is my plan for the next 7 days. Is I want to hop on every single day, probably at 6 o'clock. We'll play around with the times and give you some direct solutions to some of the big problems that we're facing in this current climate. Now obviously we all know that there's been a huge shift on our planet in this last week or two, and it's hit us quite hard, and it's probably not going anywhere in the next few weeks. And so this evening what I wanted to start off with was probably the most current topic, which is dealing with the coronavirus anxiety. Now before I jump into that, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on kind of what makes me qualified to be sat here speaking to you this evening. I don't want to spend like a lot of time on this because I really felt like earlier on when I was taking the dog for a walk, I felt like I really want these sessions to be about solution providing. So I want you to be able to hop on and leave with something every single evening that you can implement to make a change in your life. So I will give you a little bit of background, but I'm going to basically skim over it, and then if you really want me to at some point, I'm quite happy to do a separate session all about my journey and what's brought me to doing what I do today. But in a nutshell, I have had the most, I suppose, exciting last 15 years where I've got to work with some of probably the most conscious teachers in my eyes around the planet. And I've kind of came across them accidentally, or is there any accidents? I don't know. But anyway, I've got to work with some incredible teachers, starting off with learning to be a life coach about a decade ago now, and that then propelled me into meeting a bunch of monks called the Ashayas, where I went and did some training over in Spain and lived at the top of a Spanish mountain and studied the workings of the mind. And this probably has been the most life-changing part of my whole entire life. What the Ashayas have taught me was no short of a miracle, and today I still practice these techniques every single day because they've made such a massive impact. But the main thing that I really wanted to bring to this evening about this is that throughout this journey of like studying the mind, one of the things that has been really clear to me, and I guess one of the things I bring to my practice and working with my clients, is that we are in a world where we've been kind of misled. We've been taught to make changes in our objective world, and I did that for many years. I was chasing something continuously on my outside world, continuously, like when I get there then I'll be happy, when I've got that much money then I'll be happy, when I've got that partner, when I've got these kids at this school, when I've got this car, when I've got this job, when I've got this career, when I look this way, when I've lost a stone by Friday, then I'll be happy. And it was this constant, like, almost addiction of chasing something that was never really achievable, because as soon as I got one thing sorted in my life, there'd be another 10 or 20 things firing up behind me. So it's a constant rat race. And what this journey has taught me in the last 15 years, and what I really want to home in on this evening, is that it is literally the wrong way round. This is an inside job. If we want to make any lasting changes, we have got to stop taking our focus on our objective world, and we have got to turn it inwards and make the changes from inside out. So this next few days, I anticipate to take you on a journey inwards. Now, obviously, there's lots of things going on the news, social media about the coronavirus, and some of the things that we've been told to do are absolutely paramount to stopping this from spreading, and we've absolutely got to follow those regulations. However, this is not about that, because you guys know that. You know what you're doing with all that. This is about giving you some tools to be able to go inwards and making a change from your inside out, so that you not only get to survive this, but you get to actually expand and grow through this time, because that's what this time needs to be looked at. There's too much. It's too easy to be putting our focus on the doom and gloom, and if you actually ask yourself, whenever you're focusing on negativity or you're focusing on things that are like, I guess let's use this example with coronavirus, where we don't know what's going to happen because we haven't got a crystal ball, we don't know how it's going to unfold. So that kind of uncertainty can spiral the mind into a million concepts and a million ideas. And if you think about the times whenever you focused on things like that, has it ever made you feel great? And the answer's no. Like, it never does. It always leaves us feeling miserable and scared and fearful, and almost like it's out of our control. We're out of control, and that can feel really scary. And these things, all types of things that end up leading us to feeling like we've got severe anxiety or stress, or even worse, panic attacks, or we feel like we're dying, whatever it might be. So this journey that I want to take on the next few days is going to be about flipping this around and taking you inwards, so that you can make some changes, not just because of the coronavirus, but because you want to empower your life. And I always say to my clients, right, knowledge is power, and it absolutely is, but knowledge of self is self-empowerment, and that's what I want to focus this next 7 days, that by the time you leave me in 7 days, that you feel more empowered than who you are right now. And if I can achieve that, then I'm going to be a happy girl. But what I'm going to need you guys to do is a couple of things. The first thing is that the information that I share with you, like, obviously share it with as many people as you like. This is going to be recorded. Please share it. It'd be amazing if it went viral. So it's the dog, because someone's leaving the house. She's got issues with doors shutting. But also, like, I am going to share some hot tips. Now, like anything, if you listen to the information and just listen to it and then put it down, then that's cool, but you're not going to get any shifts. But if you actually action some of the things that I'm going to share, not only will you get a shift, but you'll actually, by the end of 7 days, feel in a better place. And that's what I would like to see, is that in 7 days' time, you get to empower yourself into a different vibrational state that is harnessed in a place of unconditional love and expansion, rather than fear, anxiety, stress. I want to get rid of that and shift you. So if you're in for that, then give us a massive thumbs up. If you're prepared to give this 100% and jump in and take this journey with me, then give us thumbs up or anything out there, or just say that you're there, that'll be fine. Okay, so today I want to dive into dealing with the coronavirus and the anxiety around it, and what that really means. So what is anxiety? Well, first of all, I'm not sure whether you know why we experience anxiety. If you don't, I'm going to just give you a little short synopsis on anxiety actually is and why it affects us so severely. So we are actually, as human beings, we are these amazing bodies that are literally so clever, they are so strong, and they have the ability to do so much, but yet we kind of don't give them the power and the credit that they deserve. And so consequently we create blocks. And how that happens is because, quite simply said, is that when we are going through life, there's two things that happen on a daily basis. We have what's called maintenance. Oh, there's Lola, that's the dog. Maintenance is how our body rejuvenates. We don't have to think about it. We go to sleep. We go into a healing process, and we wake up the next day. We reset our buttons. Our nervous system has got rid of a load of junk and stress from the day before, and literally the cells of our body are constantly rejuvenating, dying off and replacing themselves with fresh, healthy cells all the time. We don't have to think about that. It just happens because our bodies are phenomenal. They are an amazing piece of kit. They know what they're doing, but the problem we have is that we interfere and we get in the way of that by focusing on stress, focusing on downward spiraling things that cause us to feel anxious. So what anxiety is an overload of a chemical called cortisol. So you might have heard that as fight or flight. And cortisol is not the enemy, it's a hormone that's released to tell the body that you are under threat, right? So, for example, back in the caveman times, when man used to have to go and catch his food, and potentially there might have been a little bit more danger than there is, well, saying that, going to Tesco's right now feels like quite a dangerous thing, especially around the toilet rolls. But anyway, generally, you can go to Tesco's or Sainsbury's and usually imagine that you're going to get in and out and not die, generally. And back in caveman times, when things were different, then that kind of like idea wasn't really there because there was more threat. We would go out, we'd catch our food, and we'd potentially get eaten by something. So the fight or flight or cortisol release was really important. And the problem is that today our brains haven't changed at all, really, since them days. They still operate in the same way. So we still release this chemical cortisol when the body thinks that we're under threat. Now, this is the important part, so listen, and you might want to take a note on this. The problem is that we are the only species on the planet that can trigger the fight or flight cortisol trigger by thought alone. So I'm going to say that again. We are the only species on the planet that can trigger fight or flight or cortisol by thinking alone. So you could literally be sat in your front room watching Love Island or whatever it is you're watching, and suddenly your mind starts to drift. It starts to go off into a thinking process. So perhaps it starts thinking about what Boris Johnson said on the TV yesterday, or perhaps you've been on Facebook. There's a lot of Facebook stuff going on right now, and you've read something, or potentially you've gone out and you've seen someone, I don't know, you've got angry because you felt like people aren't sticking to the rules. Whatever it might be, your mind has gone off into a thinking process. But the mind then changes that thinking process into something negative. So maybe you start fantasizing about an argument that you're going to have, or maybe you've had an argument and you start reliving it in your head about maybe you're at work last week and someone said something to you and you just froze, and now you're going back to it in your mind and you're thinking, if only I'd have said that to him, or if only I'd said that to her, and you start to create this fantasy within your head using your imagination actually, but in a negative way. So this is what happens. You're sat there, you're sat watching TV, mind your own business, your mind goes off into a thinking process, and then bang, what happens? Every single thought that we have is attached, use my lip gloss, to an emotion. So you don't get one without the other. It's not possible. So you get a thought, and then that triggers an emotion, or an emotion rises up and a thought is attached to it. But there's one common denominator about these thoughts and these emotions, is that they vibrationally match each other. So, for example, when you're having a really amazing day and things are going really well and you're like, oh my god, the sun's shining and everything's wonderful, blah, 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 the type of emotion that's attached to that, you'll notice, is always an upward spiraling emotion. So it might be one of joy, or of expansion, or of happiness, or peace, or contentment. But on the flip side, when you are focusing on negative thoughts, so worried about dying right now, maybe scared about what the future holds, perhaps your mind is wanting to go to fear of financial issues, maybe it's wanting to propel you into an emotion of the worst case scenario, which wouldn't be uncommon right now. What happens is then the emotion that attaches to that will
is something that would be downward spiralling, like cortisol. So cortisol is a stress hormone. It releases out of the brain, floods the body, and the body now thinks that you are under threat. So you sat watching TV, you've gone off thinking about the future, it's been negative, and now the body reacts to that because that's its job. Its job's to keep you alive. So it's going to do whatever it can do. And so it floods your body with cortisol, bish, bish, bash, bosh, and then every single cell now is just completely smothered in the hormone of cortisol. So what cortisol does is it floods it and it makes the body then change. So the physiological changes are things like you feel sick, your heart starts racing, you feel like you're hot, you're clammy, you feel like you can't cope. But with that experience, what it does is it triggers more thoughts that are similar to that experience. So it's a knock-on effect. So you sat there watching TV, but there's a bloody war zone going on inside of you. All because you focused on something that felt scary, that felt out of control, that felt like it was too much to deal with. And so, consequently, now, you are now sat watching Love Island, feeling like you're going to die. Right? You sat there, your heart's racing, you can't cope, feeling like you're going to die. This is all because the mind and body are completely connected in one. And you know that's true because if you're hungry, let's say, and you go into, someone's baking some nice food or freshly baked bread or something, you're starving hungry. How many times has your mouth started to salivate before the food's got anywhere near you? That's because your mind and body are completely connected. So, anxiety is basically triggered by the attachment to future dialogue in your head. So when we go into a future moment and start using our imagination in a negative way, because it's never in a positive way, it's always in a negative way, this is one of the main culprits that triggers the whole reason that you end up feeling so awful. Now the good news is that if this is something you have experienced, it means that you are actually working, your body and mind are working really well. It's doing its job, actually. But what I want to share with you how you can stop living like that, because it's exhausting. I get it. It's really exhausting and it's not cool. And you know what? It's about time that you got your power back so that you can live your best version, especially in this time, especially when there's so much stuff going on out there. So I'm going to share with you some stuff in a minute about how you're going to be able to change that. But let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. Let's talk about the actual characteristics of what's really going on here. So one of the things I want to highlight about COVID-19 is that I'm not a nurse or a doctor, so I'm not going to get into the science of it behind it, but because I think that you should ask somebody who's a professional in that arena. However, I do know that the virus itself is not a predator, it's an opportunist. And what that means is that the virus itself is not after you. It is obviously going to pass around, as we know, from body to body or from metal or wood if it's still lingering in that area. But the one thing that I really need you to know is that it will only go for bodies, or only move into bodies and manifest as the illness if the immune system is low, because it can't break through a cell if the cells of the body are strong and are healthy. It looks for gaps in a cell. So if that's a cell, it'll look for a gap to be able to get into, and the only reason somebody will have a gap is because their immune system's down. So this is where this next segment's really, 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 really important. So I hope you're listening, because this is going to change the way you feel and think about this whole experience. Of course, we've got to take safety precautions, and because we live on a planet with 7 billion people, 7.5 billion people on the planet, so we do need to be compassionate and thoughtful for other people who don't know this information. But as far as you go, the number one important thing for you and your family is about supporting the immune system and keeping it strong right now. And one of the fastest ways to deplete the immune system is through stress. Because what stress does is it turns off your ability to your immune system. And the reason why it does that is because, as I said to you before, it's got two jobs. It's either in maintenance mode, right? So it's in survival. Its maintenance mode is it's repairing, it's making sure that you're rejuvenating, okay, and it's got its immune system. Now, if suddenly you are threatened, the body feels that you're under threat, i.e. stress, so it doesn't know, as I told you before, you can think about something and it thinks you're under threat, it doesn't know that it's not happening now, it just believes that it is, it just listens to the thoughts that you're saying, it hears that you're under threat. The first thing it's going to do if it thinks you're under threat, because the immune system takes so much energy up to run, is it's going to switch your immune system off. And it's going to focus on the immediate threat, because your body thinks that you might be under threat and potentially could die, so it's going to drag all the energy to make sure that you survive. So the immune system gets switched off and it goes straight into survival mode. So what we need to make sure that you do is that you don't get stressed, so that you don't turn your immune system off, because what you need right now is a healthy immune system. It is so important. And so how we do that is by basically doing the opposite to what we've been doing. It's not rocket science stuff, it's not even difficult, but it might be a bit different for you. And I do say that to all my clients, the stuff I do is not difficult, but it is different. And because it's different, there's a tendency of the mind to want to revert you back into old habits. And that's okay. You've just got to become aware of it. And awareness is actually a big part of this journey, you know. When we become aware of how we're triggering our stress. So for example, one of the things that would be really cool to do in the next 24 hours is just notice when your mind is going off into a negative direction. So if it's starting to spiral off into grabbing onto a future story and trying to like create some sort of wonder out of some future moment that hasn't even happened yet, then that would be a sign for you to go, right, stop, because this does not serve me. I am focusing on something that's downward spiraling, and that is going to do nothing more than stress me out, which is going to turn my immune system off. I don't want that right now. And the other thing is that what we have to realise is that actually we are so powerful. We are such powerful multidimensional beings, but we give our power away to our minds so easily. We give our power away to thought so easily. And the truth is that a thought coming into our experience, the thought might be, oh, the coronavirus is going to get me, right? Okay, that is just energy passing through your experience. It can't harm you. It can only harm you when you grab it and you go off into thinking and make it into a thinking process. And only at that point does then the emotion show up of cortisol, which then switches off the immune system. So a thought itself that passes through, oh my God, I'm going to die of the coronavirus, right? Probably a very common thought at the moment. It's going to get me and my family. I'm going to go bankrupt. Everything's going to go wrong. You know, lots of very common thoughts that are out there today. Those thoughts can't harm you. They can't get you. They can't harm you. They may feel like they can, but they can't. It's just energy, right? It's just energy passing through. The only time it becomes a problem is when you grab it and you go off into thinking. And at that point, the only thing that can then happen is an emotion has to be created, which would be cortisol, which would then signal your body to turn off your immune system, which is not what you want. So, okay, a little recap before I go on to the solution. Number one, you're amazing. Number two, you are a multidimensional being and have more power than you could ever imagine. Number three, the coronavirus is not a predator, it's an opportunist. Number four, your body knows exactly what to do to keep your body in alignment of homeostasis, which is absolute health, right? It knows how to rejuvenate the body and how to run your immune system at the same time. Number five, the one thing that turns your immune system off is stress and anxiety. Number 6, we are the only species on the planet that can cause stress and anxiety by sitting down and going off into a future moment in our heads, fantasizing about something that hasn't ever happened. Number 7, I think. We are also the only species that has the power to be able to stop that and put our attention somewhere else, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Number 8, all this stuff that's been happening to you in your life, and especially now, doesn't mean that you are broken or have done anything wrong. It just means that we've just never been taught this stuff. That's it. We've just never been told what to do. But when you know, knowledge is power, but knowledge of self is self-empowerment. So, let's dive in to the solution. Has anyone got any questions so far, by the way? And also, I don't know if I can who's there. Oh, but hello everybody. Sorry if I've not said hello to your names. I just realised loads of people have jumped on. Oh, hi Sally, hi Heather. Gives me a big stop, guys. This thing makes sense so far. I hope so. Just realised, look how red I look. Ooh, I'm a bit hot. I think it must be a bit of cortisol. Anyway, right. So, enough's enough. Those are the reasons why I feel anxious, right? It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's your body doing its job properly. It means that you are a healthy being. Right? It's not an enemy. It's showing you that you're out of alignment of where you need to be. So let's dive into what you can do going forward. Over the next week, I'm going to drip feed you because I don't want to overwhelm you and I don't want to stress you out. I'm going to drip feed you some solutions, right, that are going to help you make this change and lead you to the most empowered version of you in the next 7 days. But the first things first. This might be obvious, I don't know, but like the first thing that I really want to make a point of before about making these changes is an optimistic person. Okay, so they've done loads of research on being optimistic. So optimistic means somebody who sees the cup half full, not half empty. An optimistic person would be telling their body right now that their body is fit and healthy rather than focusing on like doom and gloom. An optimistic person would be somebody who would see this time as a time of growth and opportunity to be able to connect and maybe be more creative and to do things differently and to trust and allow the process, right? So that's an example of an optimistic person. The studies have proven that when we become optimistic, it is like an antidote to stress. So what that means is that if we flip our attention from being focused on something that's stressful and downward spiralling to something that is expansive and upward spiraling, it actually dissolves the experience of stress instantly. It's an antidote. But not only that, the other studies that have shown that people are optimistic, not only is it an antidote to stress, but it also, they've realised that people live longer, they're healthier, they're actually happier, they are more likely to be in a place where they can be more of service to people around them and more giving. And actually an optimistic person will be the type of person that will see the opportunities and the magic, if you like, that is being presented in front of them, because they're not lost in their addiction of the mind, going off into the doom and gloom of all the things that potentially stresses out more. So optimism is something that I always focus on with my clients, because it's something that you sometimes have to relearn, only because we've got so lost. We've got so lost, haven't we, in the rat race of what is called our life. And again, because we've been probably programmed to a degree to constantly be on the outside, looking at our outside objective world to make changes, when actually we really need to, we need to turn inwards. So one of the first things I'm going to say to you is, what one thing could you do between now and tomorrow? What one thing that would be a positive step towards becoming more optimistic in your life? So I'm going to say that again. What one thing could you have a play with, be playful with, you know, be kind of almost childlike with, that could take you one step closer to being more optimistic in your life. So an example, and you can share, by the way, if you've got any ideas, chuck it up on the screen. My sister's trying to ring me, she should be on here. Anyways, so if you've got any ideas, so an example might be like tomorrow morning you're going to get up and you are going to make the agreement that as soon as you wake up you're going to jump out of bed, you're going to have a shower, and you are going to maybe write down 3 things that you are grateful for, which is, by the way, when we're in a state of gratitude, we can't help but be in an expansive state of, well, basically what it does is it expands us upwards, it makes us feel good. So it makes us feel more alive, it makes us feel more energetic, it makes us feel wonderful. So it's one thing that you could do, and I just want you to write that down, and if you can share it on the screen, that would be even better. If you don't worry, I get it. But one thing that you could do between now and tomorrow that is going to help you become more optimistic. Right, okay, optimism over. Let's talk about what the next step is. Okay, so I've written some notes because I knew that I'd end up going off in tangents, which is just me all over. Right, the reason, so the first thing that I want you to do is awareness precedes all change, period. And what I mean by that is the more aware we become of who we are, the easier it is to make shifts and changes to the things that don't serve us anymore. So I've asked you to like focus on optimism and think of one thing that you could do, but also I want you in the next 24 hours, I want you to become aware of where your mind the tendency of where it wants to go when it's trying to grab something negative. So it might be that because of what's going on currently that it is just about the health side, and that would be understandable. But maybe it's the kids, maybe it's like your day 1 of homeschooling and you're working from home and you're worried about money and you're worried about work. Whatever it might be, I want you to become aware of what that is over the next 24 hours. And I'm going to be checking in with you and asking you about that tomorrow, so don't think you're getting away with it. So what is it that your mind, because we have these kind of like, I always say they're like special thoughts, and we have these special thoughts that are kind of more addictive to us. Mine were always around my kids, like if I was ever going to go off and like really beat myself up, it was always around, oh my gosh, I'm a single mum, I haven't done a good enough job, I can't cope. It was always around stuff like that, and or you know, they're going to go out and die probably on the way to the shop. Before I kind of went on this journey, that would be my obsessive negative thoughts. It was worrying constantly about them. But you know, there's lots of things to worry about, isn't there? So I want you to become aware of what it is that you're worried about. That's step 1. Tomorrow, I want to talk to you about how to combat worry and how to deal with intense negative emotions. So tomorrow's training is going to be all about that. Again, though, if you've got certain topics that you'd love me to dive into, then please do share on the little writing box. So step 1's that. Step 2. It is so important that you stay connected. Now, obviously, we are now in a time where we can't just go and knock on someone's door. So we have got to get creative. But it is so important that we do this through picking the phone up, Zoom calls, whether it's social media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Facebook Messenger, whatever it might be. It is so important, because feeling connected to one another is going to make you feel safer, right? And safety always gets rocked a bit when it definitely feels rocked when we're feeling anxious. So make sure that you consciously reach out to people, do fun things, make up little Zoom groups, and invite 3 or 4 friends and have a glass of wine together, but over Zoom, whatever it might be, but stay connected. Pick up the phone to loved ones, call friends, make it a priority that every single day you connected to people. We are actually tribal, our human beings. We're meant to be in a community, we're meant to be connected. We thrive, we grow, we expand, we become better versions of ourselves when we are connected to each other. Now obviously we've got to be very creative right now with that, however, you can still do it. So, I mean, imagine if this happened before the internet, that would have been a nightmare. Because we wouldn't have been able to even do this that I'm doing now. So stay connected, okay? The next thing is take action where action is due. So one of the things that's really good for counteracting health anxiety is having a daily schedule. So it can be as simple as it needs to be. So we've done it in this household. Well, I say we. I've done it. No one else is following it. Me and my 3 teenage sons. And it basically looks like wake up in the morning, meditate, do some exercise, then walk the dog in isolation somewhere on your own, come back, get changed, have a coffee, start work. So it's little rituals that I've implemented that are very upward spiraling and empowering. They're all about making you feel good about yourself. They're all about going inwards, and they're all about being able to give you some soulful actions that are gonna basically set up your day. So if you don't meditate yet, that's fine. There's lots of great apps out there, by the way, but I'm going to talk more about meditation later on in the week. But for now, there's like a great app called Insight Timer. Exercise is fantastic online. There's loads and loads of free stuff online, and there's I mean, I've got a couple of friends that are doing sort of free 7-day, 21-day, 7-minute exercise things that you can find on my Facebook page. There's obviously YouTube. It's about doing things so that moving your body, hydrating, meditating, doing things that are going to support you where you are right now is so important. And I promise you, even if you did like 20 minutes in the morning, like 10 minutes exercise, 5 minutes meditation and 5 minutes fresh air, you will feel like a different human being in 7 days, I promise. So make that a priority too. And then finally, one of the things that anxiety can do is it can make us obsessive. So it draws us and pulls us into like obsessive thinking. So back to what step 1 was, which is about becoming awareness precedes all change. It's about really, once you've noticed what you are obsessing about, what your mind's trying to grab, what I want you to do now, grab paper and pen, because this is important, is that as soon as you're aware that you have been negatively like addicted to some sort of scenario or situation that is making you feel more anxious, is I want you to grab paper and pen. Simple. Let's say it's the kids. I want you to write the kids at the top of the paper. And now, this is what I need you to do. Is without thinking, I want you to take your pen to paper, and I want you to write about how this experience is making you feel. I know it's not important about what's going on, it's only important about what you are feeling. And I'm going to do a full session on emotions and feelings and explain why that is important tomorrow. But all you do is you write out how it's making you feel, and then you literally, you dump it. And what you do, how you dump it is, well, if you can set it on fire, that's really good, but I don't know if you've got a fire on at the moment or whether you've got the capability of doing that. So if you can't, then rip it up and put it in the bin. But it's the whole cycle of life. It's called the Feel, Deal and Dump process, which is one of my processes from my Freedom Alignment program that I do. And it basically addresses the root cause of what you're experiencing. So instead of addressing the anxiety itself, it's about going under the anxiety and actually approaching it from the cause rather than the effect. It's an uber powerful exercise. However, it only works if you do it. It only works if you do it. And probably a lot of people's minds are going, well, that just sounds too simple for it to be effective. And I only know that because of the people who said that to me in the past. So if that is your mind, don't worry about it, don't listen to it, just do it. If you are somebody who suffers with anxiety and you want a solution today, then this is going to change your experience very quickly. You might have to do it more than once, that's okay. Just keep doing it, just keep doing it. But if you make that a priority, if you make your awareness a priority, and then actually addressing the feelings when they come up, and then refocusing yourself into something empowering, I promise you we'll be having a different conversation, not just next week, but we'll be having a different conversation by tomorrow. By tomorrow. So if you want a change, and goodness me, you deserve it, because you're flipping amazing, all of you, then do this stuff. So before I jump off, because I've kind of rattled on, haven't I? God, I can speak, 40 minutes in, wow. Okay, so quick recap. Awareness precedes all change. Optimistic people live longer, feel happier, do great things. So you're going to tell me tomorrow what one thing that can take you one step closer in the next 2 hours to be more optimistic. And number 3, we're aware of what your mind is trying to attach itself to, where it's trying to like go with some negative, addictive, downward spiraling thoughts. You can stop. Hammer time. You can stop. I don't know where that came from. Oh my god, I'm going slightly mad. You're going to stop, you're going to get your paper and pen out, and you are going to write about how that experience makes you feel. So you're going to feel, deal and dump. You're going to feel it, you're going to deal it, and then you get that piece of paper and you're going to go and set that paper on fire. And you're going to give it back to where it belongs, which is not you. It is not you. Give it back. It's not yours. And tomorrow I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to share with you tomorrow in the emotions and feelings and worry section tomorrow on why that's true and why that works. But in the next 24 hours, have a go. Seriously, have a go. Now, I am going to be, where am I going to be? You can contact me, DM me, ask me any questions, obviously on this group or my normal group, which is the Mind Coach. So feel free to contact me to ask me any questions. I just want you to know, right, that someone said to me once, and I'm going to share this with you, that like, I said at the start of this session that knowledge is power and knowledge of self is self-empowerment. But like, when you make your self, your inward experience, the most important thing, not only do you get to shift your experience into feeling better and feeling great, but collectively you literally become a human being again rather than a human doing, where you get to create the life that you actually deserve. And you know what? If anything comes off the back of COVID-19, right, and from a positive point of view, then it's got to be that it's about time that we step up as humans and start owning who we really are. And what I mean by that is realising the power that we are as a human being, because you have everything you need right now, right here inside you, to be able to create and go forward into any possible way that you want. But it starts by taking that responsibility and reshifting your focus, because I tell you what, if you are suffering with anxiety and stress or whatever it might be, then it means that something different has to happen. And Einstein said the definition of madness is repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result. And you know what? If we're ever going to listen to him, it's got to be now. We've got to do something different in order to get a different result, because what we've been doing isn't working. It's not working. So we have to do something different, and that starts right now, right here, implementing these very small, tiny steps. And you implement them, and you make tiny, consistent changes every single day, and then wham, bam, you turn around in just a week's time, you go, whoa. And so then you can imagine if you continue to live like that, what it's like not just in a week, but in a month, or 6 months, or a year, or 5 years. And suddenly you realise how powerful you are. So I'm going to leave you on that note. So I really hope you've enjoyed this. By the way, I've got a free, what have I got on my website? It's kirstybortup.co.uk. There's also a free, it's an anxiety and stress masterclass. Feel free to go and also have access to that and share it with as many people as you like. Thank you so much for listening to me on my first night. I didn't expect to speak for this long. I hope that it hasn't bored you. And I will be clocking back on tomorrow at 6 PM, but I'll keep you all posted on social media. Mwah! Love you lots. Thank you very much, and have an amazing night. Remember, you rock.